All right, so what are we talking about? What's the name of our podcast?
Dude, I don't even know. I was thinking about that today. I don't know. I think we need to like do the podcast and then retroactively figure out the name.
We could do that, yeah. My ideas were B2C, right? Because it's like sort of like business to creator, sort of like business to consumer.
Yeah.
Brian to Cormac, right?
Oh shit.
Brian to Cormac.
I didn't see that connection.
And then
B2C.
Well, what are we talking about? We're talking about product and distribution. We're talking about code and content.
Yeah, but it's also like we're talking about a different lifestyle, like a different way to live your life, a different way to like build a business.
Yeah.
The new age of creating value in the world.
Yeah.
So.
And getting people together, right? That's a big thing for me. And I know you too, because you want to have like a community of Oasis people drinking high quality water, right?
For sure.
And high quality everything, right? And I'm trying to enable small time people to start a business, right? You should be able to like start a business and not have to be a billionaire, right?
This is true. Yeah. It should be like, starting a business and creating a ton of value in the world, creating a product that reaches millions of people is super democratized these days. Like anyone can do it.
Yeah.
Right? But it's
with
about
AI.
Powered by AI. Yeah.
So what is it about? What's it about? What's the lifestyle?
I mean, I was telling you before about the term LifeMaxxing.
Yeah, what is that?
It's like knowing your values in life and figuring out how you can frame your life to get the most out of it, right? So like you can, for example, this is an example, you can work hard, you can party hard, and you can like travel, but also like have a grounding with your friends and family at the same time.
Yeah.
And I think this is like the new freedom that like this world provides at this time. So like determining what you value in life and like maximizing to achieve those values.
Okay, that's really interesting because, so I'm looking at, I have to like make content for my shit, right? You're good at making content. I have to find my niche. And so I'm looking at people to copy, and then I'm looking at their best, performing videos. And then I'm seeing them like promote products or like tell other people how to run their business, right? And all the top comments on these videos are, well, yeah, if you like want to make money, or like, yeah, if you're like an American and all you care about is profit and stuff like that. And so obviously we have to make money, right? This is like one of my philosophies, which is like, what is margin, right?
Okay.
We have to go on like a whole tangent on like that, but like you're talking about LifeMaxxing and you're saying, hey, you want to enable your life to do the things that you want to do,
Yeah.
but it's not all about money for everybody, but you need money in order to do that kind of shit.
Yeah.
So how do you LifeMax if you are like working at McDonald's,
Bro, like you gotta do something else.
Yeah.
Like,
I guess.
working at McDonald's is not LifeMaxxing.
Right, but okay.
Like you are plugged in to a business model invented in the early 1900s. Like
For sure, yeah.
You are a person in the machine. You're not working for yourself, which is like you can't life max if you're working for someone else, right?
Well, yeah, but forget about McDonald's. Nobody wants to work at McDonald's ever. Go up one level. There's corporate America. I know you lasted like 4 seconds in corporate America. Wait, did you ever have a corporate job, or did you only work at startups?
Only startups, because my mom, I like grew up with her like taking like phone calls, and she
Yeah.
works for like a Fortune 5 company, and I could just like tell based on like every day she came home, based on her like mood and based on how her day went, because she'd work from home some days, so I could like see how like the meetings went.
Yeah.
Like I didn't want to live that life. Like I could tell she was putting in the hours for like me and my siblings and my dad and like everyone else in the family, but she wasn't like doing it for her.
She was LifeMaxxing your life.
She was life maxing my life.
So I feel like that's what everybody's doing though, right? Well, okay, not everybody, but like they're doing that job, right? And they're working for somebody else.
Yeah.
And what's the correlation? They don't have equity, right? You're getting a paycheck.
Yeah.
So I feel like what I want to promote is start your own business. Doesn't matter if it's nano, micro, macro, whatever. You're getting like a little piece of something, right? And I feel like that's the missing piece that these people don't have.
Yeah. Having ownership in something is like everything.
Yeah, it gives you like, it makes you want to work harder at it.
Like waking up and like, it's the difference between waking up and like feeling like you have to do something versus waking up and feeling like you are like pursuing something for you.
How do you feel when you wake up? Because you're off the grid, right? Like I still have a job and like a company and stuff, So
Dude, it's weird. Like I feel like I still have the same habits of like a 9 to 5 or like a student. Like I still feel the pressure to wake up, go to the gym right away, get a workout in, and then like work immediately.
How many hours a day do you work? Well, you don't have a block schedule, right? So
every hour.
Yeah.
20 minus 7, 24 minus 7, 17.
Okay, it's fair. It's fair. It's a lie, but it's like.
But like,
fair. Yeah, you're working out. You're working on your mind, right? Which is gonna like help your business.
Yeah.
Life
but
maxing.
like one thing I realized when I was traveling is like before I was on the trip, I was on such a schedule, and like I feel like you can only be on a schedule for so long. Like a foundation of a schedule is good. Like taking care of your health, your mind, making sure you're disciplined is really good. But after a while, you like lose like inspiration. Like you're like basically working a 9 to 5.
Yeah. Except you can do whatever you want whenever you want.
Yeah, but it doesn't feel like that.
Yeah.
Like, cause you feel the pressure every day to perform. And you're like, if I don't wake up at this time today, I'm gonna fall behind. So there's like this constant pressure of like, if I don't perform today to these expectations, I'm behind. So if I don't work today, tomorrow I have to work twice as hard. And this is something I realized when I'm traveling, that we have this like mindset that it's like linear, it's like cyclical. Like we got to plug in the hours day by day to make meaningful progress. But it's really about like the random inspiration you get, the random connection that you get. Like that's what takes like what you're working on to the next level, or just like personal fulfillment, like what makes you happy.
That's how I feel as a creative. Like I always feel like I've been people think I'm like a math guy, but I'm not a math guy. I feel like I'm an artist.
You're like an analytics guy though.
I'm an analytics guy, but like I like making data visualizations, right? Like to me that's art, right? And you come up with creative ways to interpret the data and present it to people.
Right.
But I'm a procrastinator because I'm a creative, and I sit around and I let the world sort of like wash over me while I wait for inspiration, and then inspiration strikes, and then I'm in the right emotion to just create, right? And then I'm like super productive. So, but I also work really well under pressure, and now I'm applying this pressure on myself to launch this business, right? Like I've got a nice job, like why do I have to fucking launch a startup and be all extra, you know?
Yeah, I'm curious about that. You have a great job. You're like primed to like be successful in that job. What motivated you to like start something different?
Yeah, so number one is like equity, right? You're never going to be wealthy if you're working for someone else and you don't have a stake in what you're building. So you can work as hard as possible, and I'm like back-to-back MVP winner at my company, and you get like nice bonuses and stuff, and you get promotions.
That should be like fulfilling.
Right, but and like, okay, we live here, right?
Good
it's pretty
spot.
Nice. But is it my ego? Like I have to be top dog, right? Like it's not that. I know you have like a problem with authority, right? You don't want to like, you have trouble like having people tell you what to do. I think without getting too in the weeds of like my company and stuff, like when you don't have control, it sort of makes the work you do extra hard. And so I'm doing a job and I'm working hard at it, but it maybe it's the wrong thing, and I know it's the wrong thing. Or I feel like this is like the epitome of corporate America. You're doing a thing that you know doesn't matter, and then but you have to do it because that's where you get your money from. And so you do it, but it like wears away at you doubly because you know it doesn't matter, and like you're not getting a piece of it once it's done.
Right.
So for me, like I have to do shit that matters. I think that's the bottom line. It's like if I'm not doing something that like I don't have to change the world, but I want to like change it in some way, you know? I think we all do, but it just like has to matter to me.
Were you always like this?
I don't think so. I don't know.
Like did you think this way when you got the job?
I've always been like a different thinker, right? Like I've always gone outside the box, and I've always sort of like broken rules or made up my own rules, but like within the confines of a system maybe.
Sure.
And now I feel like honestly like AI did do a lot of this for me, where it's like I'm an extreme generalist and I can do anything. And now with AI I'm like, oh, I can actually do anything.
You can actually do
right?
everything.
Like I built an app like with no knowledge. Right. So
that's crazy. You didn't know how to develop like a few months ago. And now you have like a fully published app online that anyone can use. Wow. That would have taken you like a degree, years of experience, like backers to do, like a couple decades ago.
And I've always wanted to do it, but the hurdle to get over that was so high, right? Like reading through textbooks, like learning JavaScript manually, right? Like
flipping through like page 254, how to write a recursive function.
But also like you're running your app and something's going wrong and you don't know what's going wrong. It's like, oh, it was like a fucking semicolon, right? Where's GitHub Copilot to find that error for me? Right? I can't imagine doing that.
But it's interesting because like now the tools that we have are like abstracting away those like minutia problem, right? So like a few months ago you had an idea for something, and within that time frame you could like create a product just from like that idea. Because these tools like abstracted away the little minutia details that would have taken a team of 100 people before.
Right. So the minutia is the syntax. That's the way I think of it. The minutia is the syntax. To me, syntax is now a commodity. You don't need to know. I don't even like when I type. I'm so bad at typing now because we have spell check, right? So when I type into like ChatGPT, it's not even proper English. Sometimes it's out of order, like I'm speaking like Spanish or something like that. Like the verbs and nouns are out of order because I'm creating a thought as I go. And so it doesn't matter. I hit enter, it knows what I'm talking about. Right? I misspell something, it knows what I'm talking about. But like the syntax is now commoditized. And now, well, what's left over? You have larger concepts. So like the concept of a recursive function, the concept of a trigger function, the concept of an API. And then the knowledge of, well, what APIs exist, right? And then the knowledge of like, what is a product, what is a consumer? And they're like these bubbles that you sort of like connect with your knowledge of the world.
Right.
But the little connections, the APIs or the minutia or the syntax, it's commoditized away.
100%. Wow, that's so true. What, I'm kind of curious, like go into like the details, like what is your product? Like how has that been launching it over the past few months?
So I actually got 3, I just checked my users today. I actually got 3 new users that weren't friends and family.
Oh shit, let's go.
I was like, I don't know where they came from. I don't care.
Wow.
But I have like 18 users in the user table now.
Those are like real users too. Like you didn't text them like a favor.
The 3 are real users, yeah. The other 15 are friends and family who I forced, like you, I forced to fucking sign up and tell me how it's going.
You need to do that early on for sure. But these are users that came to you from like your marketing and just hearing about your product.
Yeah.
Dang.
So I got to get to a point like you where you want to know where your traffic's coming from, right? Because I'm sort of splashing all over the place.
Right. You're on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube?
Not really, but yeah.
Wait, what?
I just
yes or no?
Yeah, technically yes. I have a training video on how to use the app, and I have a 50-minute video of me going on a monologue of like why I built the app.
50 minutes?
Well, 50, and then it got trimmed to 32 after
32
like recutting it. Yeah.
Damn. Wow.
So
that's like a passionate founder video right there.
Yeah, honestly, so I just started yapping, and I was like, okay, I want to explain what it is, why I'm building it, and then, but to explain that, you sort of have to explain where I think the creator economy is going, right? And if I can break it down right now, it's that we have $100 trillion of global GDP that's spent every year. 60% of that is consumer spend, so that's household consumption, right? Buying personal items, buying Mountain Valley and Topo Chico, right?
Right.
And that number as a percentage is getting greater and greater every year. So more of this total GDP is being spent on consumer spending money each year.
I didn't know that. Cool.
So what's the rest of it? Well, the rest of it is governments, right? Obviously, and then business, B2B sort of transactions.
So you're saying consumers getting bigger as a total percentage of GDP?
Yes.
Wow.
So think about who influences consumer spend, right? Well, it is quote unquote influencers or it's creators. And if you look at advertising dollars that are spent each year, advertising dollars are going up and up faster than spend is going up. So advertising as a percentage of spend is going up, right? Okay. And then also digital advertising as a percentage of advertising is going up, right? So all of these things, so we're converging on a world where 100% of advertising is digital advertising, right? And so there's the $60 trillion of consumer spend that's up for grabs depending on who can digitally market it the best, right? And then beyond that, when you look at governments and businesses, they're not as influenced by social media or digital marketing, right?
Of course.
Because you have whatever, like baked in contracts or old people who are running the institutions.
Entrenched powers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what happens in the next 20 years or so when we have the largest wealth transfer in the history of the world and the boomers die off and they hand it all over to the Gen X, Millennial, Gen Z, right? Those people start running the businesses. Those people start running politics. And then what happens, how is a government contract like SpaceX influenced? Like how is the head of NASA influenced to, choose one contractor over another? Well, it's very possible that he's influenced by social media,
For sure, dude. There's no way he's not on Instagram or TikTok scrolling through.
Right. So now we're at a point where it's possible in the future that 100% of the global GDP is influenced in some way by digital advertising. And what's the trend in digital advertising right now? Well, it's content creation, but it's big brands or big institutions being disrupted by smaller creators, right? And so why is that? Well, because people don't like big, nameless, faceless organizations, right? They identify with people, right? And so they want to support small business. They want to go to the farmer's market the same way they want to support a creator with 1,000 followers, right?
Interesting.
Sometimes.
Yeah, true.
So this is sort of like fragmenting the culture, right? And you're always going to have like huge organizations, whatever. But there's so much consolidation right now that it's becoming fragmented and it's open market to just seize the margin that these companies have. And the famous Jeff Bezos quote, Bezos's law is that your margin is my opportunity, right? So if you're Louis Vuitton and you're charging, $14,000 for a bag and it's 80% margin for you because the leather costs $100, well, there's opportunity there for anyone to make a bag with the same cost of goods, charge $200, and steal 1, 2, 3, 5,000 customers away from Louis Vuitton, right? Because they've created their own personal brand. Right?
Yeah, I've seen this too. Like, there's a huge arbitrage right now that if you present yourself as an authority online,
Yeah.
you are seen as more trustworthy than a magazine ad, a television ad,
Yeah.
a billboard. Like, that's wild. Like, you as an individual can say something that like you believe in, and people will listen to it a lot better. And I think all these brands are kind of, they want that, right? They want like what the power the individual creator has. And you're kind of like helping these creators connect with these brands, like these businesses that want to reach these people.
Yeah, well, there's a lot. I want to touch on your first point though, because like there's a lot that I want to do with creators and brands. But your point about people identifying with people,
Sure.
That's why like podcasts are so important, right?
Yeah.
That's why we don't trust the media anymore, right? Like you said, like you wouldn't read a magazine article. You'd rather listen to a person on social media because you're hearing it straight from their mouth, right?
For sure. I think there's like a filter. Like every time you see it,
Yes.
Every time you see a television ad, you zone out. You know it's like paid for.
Yeah.
There's so many layers of bureaucracy that goes through it.
Yeah.
But it's different if you see like a personal creator pop up. It's almost like you met someone on the street.
Yeah.
You met someone like playing pickup basketball.
Yeah.
Like you just trust them inherently.
Right, because
there's
it's like
not a bias.
It's like
direct.
a face, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it the face that does it?
I think it's just the personal like aspect to it. Like you're like interacting with the person one-on-one.
You're hearing it from them.
Yeah.
So like we saw this trend in sports, right? And this started a while ago with the Players Tribune. Are you familiar with that? So like
No.
this is like 10, 15 years ago maybe. Derek Jeter started a website called the Players Tribune, and players would write articles themselves and post it on the website.
Oh, really? About like sports?
About them, about like here's why I retired, or here's how I felt when like I took steroids, or
Really?
you know, whatever.
Sure.
So it was like the first time that the players were like going direct to consumer.
Yeah.
And now we have podcasts with like JJ Redick and LeBron and
Totally.
Draymond Green. So like, why would you read an article in the New York Times about Draymond Green and what he thinks and feels, or a business,
Yeah.
right? When you can just go to a podcast or go to social media and hear it directly from the source.
Totally.
There's no filter
Totally.
on it, right?
This is the whole thing with Substack, right?
Yeah.
Is like you used to get your news through like the big news corporations, through different like news publishing websites, Business Insider. But like who created that content? Like individual writers, but they were always behind this brand name.
Yep.
So they had to like fulfill the narrative of the overall corporation. But like not all these writers are going to Substack and starting their own articles, their new like news streams
Yep.
behind their own name.
And they're making more money.
Yeah.
Right?
That's the crazy part, right?
So like they needed the New York Times for distribution, but the New York Times needed them for content,
Mm-hmm.
right?
So like who's in the power position right there?
Yeah, so you need them up until the point in which you don't need them anymore, right? So if you're making $100,000 a year as a writer at the New York Times, well, you really only need like 20,000 loyal subscribers, or I guess like if you were going to charge them $5 a month, that's $100,000 a month, right? As a
Yeah.
Substack author,
Right.
You could do it with far less.
Right.
So it doesn't take much of an audience. This is sort of the point that I'm trying to prove with Content Squared is like you need 1,000 true fans. It doesn't take that much of an audience to start a brand that can eat away at the market share of the bigger institution.
Whoa.
As long as you're providing value,
Yeah.
right? Someone's going to pay for it.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to provide value now. Like we just talked about with like AI and building a product with no knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
or sourcing materials from Alibaba, right? Like widgets. There's this guy I follow, Colin Landforce, who is doing like golf merch, and he's finding all of the factories that produce like golf bags and golf shirts, and he's telling you like, hey, this golf brand is charging $100 for a polo. Here's where you can get them from China, because everything's coming from China.
Yeah, of course.
For $20,
Yeah.
throw your own label on it. Boom, you have a golf brand.
Yeah,
You know?
100%. That's interesting. I wonder if we'll move into a world where like there's more like niche brands, right? Instead of
Yeah.
like 5 brands in the golf space, there's 1,000.
Well, honestly, that's the world that I'm envisioning, which is like, how niche can it go? We're not even close to how niche it could go.
Yeah.
Do you know the comedian Daniel Tosh?
Oh yeah, Tosh.0.
Tosh.0, yeah. So
Yeah.
there's some joke that he did where he keeps going and going, and he makes it like he keeps throwing in references into the joke until he gets to the point where there's only one guy laughing in the audience, and he's like, "Yes, I did it. I narrowed it down until there's only one guy left." Like that's where I feel like brands are going, right? You can have
Yeah.
a person. You can have if you have one customer, and that customer is like buying enough shit to support the brand, you could potentially have a one customer brand.
You can live off that,
Right?
100%. Yeah, and there's so much waste that goes on in like big business these days.
Yes. Yeah.
Like I almost feel like with creator-led brands or like individual-led brands, developer-led brands, like people are gonna get more out of it, right? Like
They're gonna get more what?
Like the individual like consumer is gonna get more out of it because 80% of the margin isn't gonna go to like middle management.
Yeah, exactly. So that's another sort of thing that I feel strongly about, which is that the organizational structure of these big corporations, we all know, like goes to the top, right?
Totally.
And there's a lot of capture in what we could call the professional managerial class.
Right, that term makes me fall asleep. What is it? What is that?
The
term?
professional managerial class? Okay, so these are the people who, like got a degree from Harvard because they sort of like paid for it, and then they enter the workforce as, you know, a VP at Facebook, but they're managing managers, right? And so they're not actually providing any substantive value to the company.
No, I mean, the whole thing with Elon firing, like 80% of it, Twitter's
it just proves.
Task force.
Yep.
Nothing changed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, all companies are run this way, right? To a T. And it's because the people don't have equity at stake, right? And so they are competing over what is a finite supply of money, which is the money that's allocated to the employees, right? The money that's allocated to the employees grows 6% a year, right? Whatever they deem is like okay for merit increases and stuff like that. Whereas the revenue of the organization could grow exponentially, right? So you're not sharing in the exponential growth.
Totally.
Likewise, like you're not, you know, you don't get hurt when it goes down.
Right. I mean, that's the risk you're like deallocating from yourself as an employee.
Yep. Yeah.
You're saying, I care more about being safe in this world than like achieving the high returns in this world. Right.
Yeah, and that works for a lot of people. Like I know people who, you know, they get promoted to a certain level, but they don't want to take on direct reports because it's like they're comfortable with a certain level of responsibility.
Totally.
Yeah, they don't want to like take that on. But I want to build a series of organizations that give the individuals more equity, right? So it aligns incentives.
Right.
So they have more desire to do a good job because they share in the reward, right? And you don't need to bring on more and more people. So
I mean, we were talking about this is like something that would have required 100 people before can be done with 5 people,
right?
If not one person, right? So like there's this total like organizational shift of you can empower those 5 people to create an even better product than before, a better offering to the world, and they get more out of it. So it's this total shift of like how can you take the 95 other people in that workforce and like get them to start doing the same thing because they're going to provide so much more value.
So I feel like we're a long way. I don't know how far away we are from this happening, but like there's so many companies, right? There's so many huge organizations, and you could do the whole Elon firing to a bunch of them, and they would be totally fine. And then where those people are going to go, they're going to go to the companies that we build, right? So I don't think for a long time I was like, I need to change institutions, right? We need to reform our institutions. But you start to realize you can't do that because the way that they're constructed doesn't fit what's going on. And so you just have to build new ones.
There's almost like a mindset shift at play. Like what's going to happen to people that like aren't willing to change their mind? Right, because you have to be like open to like working in a new way, working in a new environment, and many people aren't comfortable with that.
Yeah, that's why I feel like it takes decades. Like, honestly, they're gonna die.
Oh, okay.
That's how long it's gonna take. They're gonna die off, and the younger people, like, honestly, like I feel like my age and below, is like totally ready to just be like, hey, that's cool. Like, we'll do it. We'll do whatever. I can fucking make an app. I can make content. I can ride my bike down the street and deliver pizzas, right? Like, we can all do anything. And so we need to find the thing that we like doing, right? And because the margin is going to be greater for each individual because they're sharing in the equity, you'll be able to like possibly be the pizza bike boy, right?
The pizza bike boy. What's the business behind that? Yeah, no, that's true. Like when I was a kid, when you were like 14, 16, you had to go get a job, right? Like I worked at Dairy Queen. That's my first job. Or like terrible employee. I was literally in the back, like building apps, like in the back of the store. It was bad. It shut down after I left. But like now you have kids today that like they can take their passion for, I don't know, hiking even. They can create a TikTok account and an Instagram account and monetize that. And that's just different. It's like a different shift of, oh, I need to go find a business to work for when I'm 16 versus like, what do I love to do? And like, how can I get paid off of that thing that I love?
That's
really the hard part, right?
That is the hardest part, right? And so that's sort of what I'm trying to convince people to do with Content Squared is like, hey, you don't own your audience on social media. You don't own your TikTok followers. You don't own your YouTube subscribers. The platform could deboost you. The algorithm could change and they could go away at any point in time. And so you need to own them by capturing them with email, right? But then what do you do with the email, right? You want the email so that you can launch a business or launch a brand off of it. But then if you're if you have the best hiking TikTok account, or even not even the best, right? Just like if you have hiking as your passion and you want to start a business off of that, well, like what's the product, So
my sister's boyfriend is like a softball player. And he started filming like videos of him like celebrating after like hitting a home run. I think you do that in softball. I think it's the same as baseball. I don't know, to be honest. And just from his like sellies, like he created a whole TikTok following off of it. So now he sells like softball gear, and now he's like a huge softball guy on TikTok.
Softball guy. That's
so it's like
celebrations.
It's so random, but he like was able to do it.
I mean, that's what it is. It's like it's always gear. It's like whatever niche you're in, it's like there's gear associated with that niche.
100%.
Like I can't think of a niche that doesn't have gear. Honestly, if there's a niche that doesn't have gear, you can fucking make some gear up.
Invent the gear.
You know?
Make a new sport.
Yeah, like yoga mats. Like, do you need a yoga mat? Like,
yeah,
I'm pretty sure they were meditating
Did the Romans use
millions
yoga
of
mats?
years.
The Buddhists use yoga mats?
Yeah, well, maybe they did. I don't know.
But now, like, grounding is a thing, too, so that's a whole different niche. Like,
yeah.
No yoga mats, no shoes.
Yeah, how do you sell that?
Sell a course.
Yeah, yep. And then, yeah, when all else fails, there's a course for you to take.
Yeah, of course. Well, like, obviously, we're talking about this, like, new way of doing business, like, this new economy.
Yeah.
Tell me how, like, you recently entered this world from, like, scratch. How is your business doing? Like
so it just started.
I know you just launched, like, literally weeks ago, but,
it's going well.
Give me the inside details.
Okay, so, yeah, we launched, like, 2 weeks ago, maybe soft launch. It's an MVP. It is a feature of a larger platform, and the feature is that you can automate an email newsletter for YouTube creators. So if you're a YouTube creator, you want to be capturing emails, and I just made it super easy. So in 60 seconds, you can start capturing emails, and then you can automate a newsletter that sends your videos back out to your subscribers with a little bit of AI zhuzh to it. So
gotta have the AI.
Yeah. I feel like anything I do like has to have AI in it somehow. It just makes things better. I don't know why.
How is it going from like a user adoption point of view?
So there's like a lot of pushback in terms of people don't understand what it is. And I'm like, well, fuck. Like, to me, it seems obvious like what this is and like who it's for, but it is for like a very small subset of YouTubers who are interested in starting a brand, right? Most people just want to get paid off of the views. And one of the things I'm trying to convince people is that, not just you don't own your audience, but like views are not the end game. So launching a product would be the end game, right? Because like views can always go away. Views are not forever.
Okay. But I feel like as a creator, you're addicted to views, right? Like you're optimizing everything.
That's how you get distribution, right? But then you got to capture them.
Right.
So there's this whole sort of, that's why I feel like I have to explain the whole freaking economic theory behind the business to convince creators that, hey, you are special in that you captured attention. Now, you should do something with that attention, right? That's sort of the message. And I feel like it's not being well received. They're like, well, what do you mean I need to capture emails? I have 100,000 subscribers on YouTube and I get paid $30,000 a month for making like cat videos.
Right.
Like, what are you talking about?
In the same way that like you almost need to rewire their brains.
Yeah.
Like you need to have them think differently. Like most YouTube creators are thinking, all right, what's my CPM? Like what's my category? Like do I do finance because it has a higher CPM, or do I do gaming because it has more views?
Yeah.
But they should be thinking of like, what product do I want to launch?
Right.
Like, do I want to create a video game? Do I want to create a gaming share? Do I want to create a cupcake? Like, if they're a food channel?
Yeah.
Like, you need to get them thinking in a different way of like, they're a business owner. They're not just a creator.
But you know what? That's really hard. It's really hard to launch a brand, and it's a different skill set.
Yeah.
So just like the same way, why don't they have an email newsletter? Writing a newsletter is a different skill set. That's why I automated it with AI for you.
Right.
But still, what am I going to do with my newsletter? Well, you do get higher CPMs for advertising on email than you do on YouTube, maybe like 10x as much.
Really?
Right? Yeah, a lot of people don't know this, but like
Wow.
you can get $50 CPMs on email advertising because it's a captured audience, right? The advertisers are willing to pay more on email advertising because they know exactly who they're marketing to and they can see who clicks and open, right? Whereas a view is just a view, and we hope that it sort of landed on this demographic that we're targeting, right? So like you can get $50 on an email CPM versus $5 on a YouTube CPM, right?
Wow. So how can you convince these creators of like this new like business channel?
So they've got to get over the hurdle of, well, why do I want to launch a business? But then it's also, how do I launch a business, right?
Yeah, they don't know. They're like probably creatives.
Yeah.
Just like you're creative.
So there's a bunch of different ways you can do it, right? You can plug into a brand, right? And you can like white label something, someone who's already like doing something in your niche, right? And you can like marry up with them.
Yeah.
Or here's like the next phase of Content Squared, which is it's crowdsourcing brands and crowdsourcing advertising.
Okay.
So let's say you are a creator and you have 100,000 followers on your video game channel, and you want to launch, or let's say you have your cupcake channel and you want to launch a cupcake brand, but you just want to make content and sort of be the face of the brand. Well, you need some partners in there as well. So what if you have 100 other creators who also have, only 1,000 subscribers each?
Right.
And now we all line up together and we consolidate the attention that we have onto one product. Now, within all of the people that you've collected together, much easier to say, hey, I'm going to do sales, you're going to do operations, I'm going to go like source the cupcake batter, and you're going to find like the sprinkle company, right? Things get easier as you put more people together.
I kind of view your products like in the future creator as like the one enabling that like that interaction, like the communication.
That's what I want. I want it to be like the hub of, brands can come in and still do brand deals with all these creators, right? And you can do a crowdsourced brand deal. So you have, and also let's say you're a small creator or even a large creator. When you launch a brand, it's going to be a small brand, right? And so you're going to want to maybe consolidate on the brand side as well, or as a small brand, you're going to need to go back into the funnel and like get more creator support, right? Even if you're the 100,000 subscriber YouTuber who creates a small brand who has 1,000 fans, well, I still want 1 million other people to be advertising for me, so I go back into Content Squared and I can crowdsource more attention for my product, right?
Totally.
So I'm trying to like create a marketplace in a cycle where creators and brands kind of come together and crowdsource in any sort of way that they feel like they need to.
Yeah, I think you should look at like what's the root of that like action that they take. For example, like Stripe does one thing, like Stripe does payments.
Yeah.
But Stripe has powered a whole new economy of businesses. Stripe has powered Uber. Stripe has powered Shopify. Stripe has powered Amazon now.
Because they connect these like long tail of businesses like the Bank of Saskatchewan with like some dude who wants to buy gelato in Rome, right?
But they didn't say, hey, if you're an entrepreneur, I'll help you sell snowboards online for Shopify.
Yeah.
They said like, what's the core of what you need, and I'm gonna empower you to like do it.
Yeah, that's a great way of thinking about it, because I think about Stripe all the time, and why Stripe was so successful is because it's easy to hook up Bank of America and Wells Fargo into a payment platform, right? Because everyone has those, but they had to go through thousands and thousands of like the long tail of payment platforms where there might only be one user, right? And so they did all that hard work to connect everything, because that one guy in Saskatchewan, he's like, well, like, what about me? It's like, well, no, we covered you because we fucking wrote the SQL query that like connect the database,
Totally.
right?
I mean, it's back again to like the same way AI abstracted away the syntax.
Yeah.
How can you abstract away the syntax for creators?
Yes. Oh, fucking great framing. Yes. Well,
I don't know if that's something you know now, but that's essentially what you're doing.
But I mean, I have a lot of friends who like launch brands. Like I have a friend who like has like an agency where he has a playbook for how to like launch a brand. Yeah. And a lot of it is like sourcing material and stuff. So that's a course, I don't know if I want to sell a course.
There we go. But I think you're already doing it. Like the core of every brand is having customers, and you're helping creators capture their customers.
Yeah.
That's the core.
Yeah.
How can you capture and communicate with your customers?
I got to think about that more, because that's a great way of framing it. Like, how can I abstract away the launching of a brand for a micro and nano creator?
Yeah.
Big creators, it's not really that hard because they'll just pay someone to do it,
Yeah, they'll have people reaching out to do it.
Yeah, that's why it's hard. Like, I can't target large creators for my app to spend $5 a month on an automated newsletter. They're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
My assistant does it for $500 a month.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's like Stripe doesn't market to Nike because Nike probably has like JP Morgan payments.
Yeah.
Or something like that. But you can get...
But I still want them on the platform because they're still not launching a brand, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can capture like you can still capture them for sure. Like the top like 30%, you could capture like 20% of them.
But I have like I said, I have like a feature within a larger product, right?
Sure.
The feature is the email thing to sort of like get people understanding the ethos of the organization, right?
Yeah.
But then the larger thing is like, no, actually all creators and all brands need to just sign up, right? It's like eBay. You got buyers and sellers. It's free to log in. Everyone can see what's going on. And maybe there's some traction like with what the brands can provide in terms of like operational support to the creators.
Maybe. This is an opinion. I could be wrong, but I think you should figure out a product that incentivizes the creators to join without the need for all the brands on the other side of the marketplace. Because the brands will come in the future once you have the creators, but that way you don't have to like wait. There's enough brands to like incentivize creators to create an account.
No, you're exactly right, and that was my thinking, which is that there's a shortage of creators. There's no shortage of brands looking for creators. So the supply of creators is low, and so if you create a marketplace where there's just a ton of supply of the thing that everybody needs, which is creators, the brands will show up, right?
Buyers will show up.
And I was hoping that email would be the thing, but maybe there's just like more features. I need another draw.
Maybe not more, just the right.
Oh, what?
Not more, just the right feature.
Yes, yeah.
But that'll come. You're creating marketing videos. You're putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
You're getting exposure.
Yep.
It's just the molding of like the statue.
Yes.
It'll come. So
how's your shit going?
I was gonna say maybe as a way to like wrap these things up, we can like share like our raw business metrics.
Yeah.
And then talk about like how it's currently going and like the current problems we're facing and like what we're thinking of doing.
That sounds good. Yeah. Want me to go first since I just spewed all my stuff?
Sure.
So my KPIs, we're gonna have different KPIs obviously. Mine are just raw users.
Yeah.
And then I'm tracking followers on Instagram and TikTok. So I'm at 95 TikTok subscribers now, followers from zero in a week.
In a week.
So,
Damn.
and I feel like all my videos are trash, so it's pretty good.
A creator would say that.
And then 200 followers on Instagram, which I already started with. So
there we go. Didn't lose any. That's a win.
Maybe I lost one or two, perhaps.
Yeah.
And then I'm trying like views. Like I need more videos to crack 1,000 views. I had one video that cracked 1,000 views. There's a couple that are like at 800.
On TikTok?
On TikTok, yeah.
Okay. TikTok is performing better than Instagram?
Yeah, the Reels, I feel like it's not quality enough. I need to polish it a little bit more for Reels.
Okay.
And so that's what I'm working on next. Polishing up the content and like figuring out honestly like what the content should be.
Yeah, that's part of the process.
But those are my metrics. Just fucking
users and followers.
Users, followers, and views. Yeah.
Well, how many users do you have?
So 18 with the 3 that are real.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. You track like how often they use the product?
No, because no one's really using it right now.
Do you reach out to the users?
No, and that's like part of like the onboarding flow. That's like the next element. So I'm adding payments, and then I need to like send a reminder. Right now I'm like sending texts like, why aren't you using it? Like I see you filled out these forms, but you didn't fill out your entire profile.
Yeah.
So I need that reminder, right? I like utilize email, my own value proposition, like on my customers.
Reaching out to them.
I actually do want to ask you. We can do it later, but like I want you maybe on the next episode to tell me what Content Squared can do for you as a creator who has a digital product, who like is thinking about launching a physical product, right?
Good question.
So
yeah, I'll be thinking about that next time. That is a good question.
All right. So what are you tracking? What are your main KPIs?
I track. Wow, this question alone is making me think of different KPIs I'd be tracking. Right now, I currently track monthly revenue, like gross net volume, so like revenue after refunds.
Oh, okay. I was gonna ask what net is.
Yeah, that's around 26K.
Nasty.
Interestingly, and I track it on like a 4-week trailing basis.
Okay.
We have like a website, so that's through Stripe, and right now we have an iOS app, so that uses Revenue Cat, and then we use Amazon Associate for like affiliate. So every time someone clicks a product in Oasis, we get like a percentage of that if they buy it.
Oh really? Okay. Can you explain how that works really quick? Because I'd never heard of that.
Yeah, so it's interesting because Amazon has like the most powerful like database of products and like delivery mechanisms. So we make like 1% if you click on a filter or a water bottle in Oasis and you buy it through Amazon, we make like 1% of that sale.
What percent of your revenue comes from that?
Like $500 out of 26K.
Okay.
I don't know what that percentage is.
Not nothing.
Not nothing, but not something major. And like as a startup, should you be focusing on something that's less than 10% of like your growth?
No, probably not.
I don't know.
But it's a revenue stream.
It is a revenue stream for sure. And then just this like last week, we got paid $500 to consult like a water company.
Oh, nice.
So someone found this source. I won't say where. They found a water report for the source, and they wanted us to analyze it based on like our algorithm.
Okay.
So they paid us $500 to do that. So like there's a B2B angle somewhere in there.
Did you do the testing or did they do the testing?
They did the testing.
Okay. So they just send you the results and then you run it through your app?
Yeah, essentially. We uploaded it to Oasis and then created like a private listing.
Nice.
So
do you have that available as a product on your site at all?
Not directly.
Okay.
I figured like brands could just like contact us, but there's probably a better way to market that for sure.
Yeah.
And there's like a huge, like one of the visions I have for Oasis is that once you go to the store or any product you buy, like does it have an Oasis certification on it? So if we were creating the new platform for you to buy and measure if a product is healthy, starting with water, like you as a consumer should be able to go to the store or a restaurant and like just look at products on the shelf and see like, is this Oasis certified?
That's a great idea, and that's something like you could start locally, right? By going around town and saying like, hey, restaurant down here, these are the waters that are approved, and like you can put a little label on it.
Totally.
But did you see the documentary about like fish and how they're like doing too much fishing?
Seaspiracy?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what made me go vegetarian.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
but you know how they have like the dolphin thing or like the tuna, or there's some label, there's some organization, and it's like fake, and they got to the bottom of it like, oh, this means nothing.
You're right.
So like as a face behind the brand, like we were talking about before, oh, like it's not Oasis approved, it's like Cormac, the guy who fucking lives his life by this shit, is stamping his approval on it.
It's Cormac approved, but at the same point we're taking the stance of like, I make the marketing videos and it's Cormac approved, but like here's the raw data, so it's like you approved. It's like individual approved. Like we're outsourcing like the validation of
it's scientific.
So like you make a decision, like we'll present the data for you, we'll filter it to save you time, but if you ever want to check for yourself, read the raw lab data. So it's kind of the approach we're taking. Because like so often it's crazy. Like
it's like science. Like people just like they don't understand how to read results and stuff. So then you start taking people's word for it, and then all of a sudden, nobody trusts science anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Or like I was driving through West Hollywood yesterday, and there was a billboard that said by Smart Water that said always check the label. So like they're insinuating that like check if it's Smart Water. Yeah. But Smart Water is just tap water filled with like toxins and microplastics. Like
great marketing.
Sick marketing. But it's like BS. But they don't present you with it like the data. data
Yeah.
for yourself. But anyways, that's the approach we're taking.
Okay. Back to the KPIs.
Back to the KPIs.
Top line revenue, net revenue, different revenue streams. What else are you looking at?
We're looking at active subscribers, which is around, oh my gosh, I didn't check it. I think it's around 250.
Nice.
No, that's not true. I don't really know.
It's in the hundreds, right?
Yeah, I have like a picture in my head of mobile subscriptions being at 500 subscriptions. So it's probably between 500 and 1,000 active subscribers.
You track those separately?
Yeah.
Okay. 'Cause, yeah, they have to sign up through different
But
portals.
honestly, this is like the biggest problem I'm facing is how to make this a sticky product.
Yeah.
Like for you, it's obviously sticky. Like a creator's going to sign up and they're going to want to communicate with the creators ongoing.
Yeah.
But like for me, if someone signs up, they want to know what water is healthy.
Yeah.
They can find it out within a second and cancel the subscription.
Yeah, it is sort of transactional. Do you measure daily active users, or like do you have a KPI where you can measure the stickiness, right? So you can start to add in features and then measure
to
that.
optimize
Right?
for that.
Yeah.
That's the KPI I thought of when you asked me the question that I said I didn't track.
Okay.
So no, I don't track the active users, which is like I totally should.
Yeah.
Churn rate is 20%. We offer a yearly subscription, so it's kind of like interesting how churn rate plays into that. And then
How are you defining your churn rate?
however Stripe defines it,
Okay.
which I don't know.
Okay.
I
So it's
just
probably
look at the dashboard.
It probably and they're reporting like monthly recurring revenue, right?
MRR, so yeah, so they divide the annual pricing divided by 12.
Okay. So their churn is probably
Divided by 12?
Yeah, I'm gonna assume that assuming that they're gonna get an annual subscriber, and so any cancellation that from because you just launched, you're still within a year of launch, right?
Yeah.
So any user that's canceled within since launch.
Yeah, but
right?
churn rate is usually by month. I don't know how they do that. Maybe it's not.
Well, I'd be interested to look into it.
Yeah, raising a bunch of good questions.
Well, yeah, because you just have to define the period within your churn, right?
Yeah, but they don't. Stripe doesn't measure like ARR for you either, so it's like weird.
Okay.
And then Revenue Cat has an entirely different dashboard because like Apple just tell you everything.
Okay.
And then the last metric we track is followers, like social media followers. Like you.
Yeah. And what are you on? You're on. Is it just TikTok and Instagram?
TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube.
And YouTube. Are you doing shorts? Oh,
Yeah.
how's that going?
Terrible. We have 250 subscribers on YouTube.
How many are you posting every video on there?
Yeah.
Nice. YouTube is just shorts is like a different beast.
Yeah, it has to be totally different, right?
I think it's like the person who's consuming YouTube Shorts is the person who's anti TikTok and Instagram. It's like the person who chooses to have an Android phone just because everyone else has this one, right?
Okay, that makes sense.
I have an employee who, like, he's not on TikTok, and I asked him, I was like, hey, I'm just curious, like, why don't you have it? He's like, well, I have YouTube Shorts. I was like, oh, okay. What's on there?
Yeah, what do you see on there?
But he also has an Android phone for the exact reason that he doesn't want to be like a sheep, you know?
Interesting.
And so, like, you're going to get a different sort of content. And I feel like, I mean, I don't know. I'm not on
It's
Shorts.
totally like a different channel almost.
Yeah.
Like TikTok and Instagram, you can straight up download and post the same video.
Yeah.
But YouTube does not do that. Like, for example, we have 250 subscribers on YouTube,
Yeah.
33,000 on TikTok, and 78,000 on Instagram.
Oh, wow.
All from the same videos.
Yeah.
So it's just crazy.
Yeah. Is there differences in views between Reels and TikTok? Like, which video pops off?
They all they all have the same ratio. Like on TikTok, if someone gets 30,000 views versus 10K views,
Yeah.
that same video on Instagram will get 300,000 versus 100,000 views.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a signal, but
Okay.
Instagram's definitely better.
Really?
But TikTok will like let you know when it's gonna pop off based on like the comments and stuff in the first hour or so.
Yeah. I know.
But TLDR, still haven't think I figured out how to capture the value of Oasis in a product itself, because we have obviously more traction on social media than we do on our website and app. But that's something to figure out over time.
I mean, yeah, your conversion rate, right? And then honestly, your conversion rate by source, right? You've got two main sources of traffic. You're not doing anything. You're not doing any paid ad, right? You're not doing any SEO, right?
Of course not.
So it's straight up organic video, 2 channels of organic video, driving 30K in month in sales, essentially. But I wonder who's converting better, TikTok or Instagram? And then can you tweak your content? Because that's like your main lever right now. Can you tweak your content per platform to convert better?
Yeah.
Or is it a landing page issue, right?
Yeah.
Or like you were saying, like, is it more of the product itself?
Yeah, it's something to test and figure out for sure.
Yeah. Lots to work on, both of us.
For sure. Episode 1.
Yeah. Want to wrap there?
Yeah, I think that's a good spot.
All right. Nice, man.
Sick, bro. Dude, I thought we were just gonna film an intro.
Oh, do you want to film an intro?
No, I thought we were gonna like film an intro, then like check it, and then go back.
Oh.
But then we just kept going. We almost made it to sunset.
We could have kept going, honestly. I was just getting cold.
Yeah, facts. Please tell me it's recording.